now.
Welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast.
Hello and welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
Russell, haunt season is in full swing and it's amazing.
It's pretty damn cool.
We have been losing sleep.
We're not getting a lot of sleep.
Yeah. And we'll get into all the fun things that we've been doing, but first, the tension experience. Now, we always made a joke about how things would happen after we recorded a podcast, and it happened again. We were at Denny's hanging out with our friend Lucas that flew in from Chicago to attend Ascension, and we were hanging out, chatting, looking at pictures, and this was around midnight. And then what happens, Russell?
My phone rang. And this was about, 2 weeks after I had done Ascension the same night you did.
Right.
So I wasn't expecting anything. I figured like the mysterious phone calls were over. So it was literally 4 minutes to midnight, I believe. And my phone rang and all three of us at the table looked down and my phone said no caller ID. So I just stared at it for a second and like, wow, that's really surprising. So I picked it up and a voice, which I thought I recognized, but and Mike, I think you can attest to this, that I was a little confused at the beginning because I thought it recognized it, and this female voice said, "Do you know who this is?" Which is how almost every phone call I ever got from Addison of the Tension Experience, almost every phone call began that way. So this voice says, "Do you know who this is?" And it just didn't sound like her. So I said, "I think I know who this is." I said, "Is this Addison?" And she said, "This is Sabrina."
Who's Sabrina, Russell?
Well, it took me a moment, actually, because it didn't register at first, because I thought, oh, then I have the wrong person on the phone. And she continues with, "This is Sabrina, the actress who plays Addison."
What?
Yeah, I like, because this changed everything for me, because never has there been a break like this for me. In the whole Tension Experience, she remained Addison, and it was, I was always supposed to either relay information or whatever. That was the interaction that I had during indoctrination of the Tension Experience with this woman named Addison. So I said, "Oh," and she said, "Look, the information, the file that they have on you, the file they have on all of us, this is basically identity theft." She said, "Look, I've been trying to get out of Tension for months," to which I just, I don't know what I looked like to you guys. I think my jaw was on the table, and I said, wait a minute. You're starting to worry me." And she said, I'm sorry. I said that I basically asked, "Is there any way that I can help you?" Because I didn't know where this was going. I was just confused by this weird twist. So, and she said, "I don't know. I don't know if you could help me." And I said, "Look, you're really worrying me, and I'm concerned now." And she said, I'm sorry. And she hung up. So I got this weird break, which, something that I've... Go ahead.
It's not a break.
It's
a break that's not a break, which is... And they're still messing with us.
Yes.
To this day. I mean, this phone call, it's just weird because with what we know about Addison and how people think she may have been brainwashed and how you gave her the cat and she snapped out of it, things like that. What happened after Ascension, and for what you mentioned, and for those that haven't heard this, basically Addison told Russell this is all real after it and then ran away. Now, she's telling you it's all real, then Sabrina calls you. I wonder if she snapped out of it for 5 minutes and called you.
Right, which at the very end, we've never really discussed in explicit detail that moment, but the night I went through Ascension at the very end, people behind Ascension, the designer, the director, the writer, all of these people came forward and just said thank you for attending our opening, like our opening weekend, and they were very gracious, and we were having a blast. And we were talking, and in the middle of that, the actress who plays Addison walked up to me and with this huge smile and a handshake, and then she said, "Oh, could you step over here for a second?" And so I stepped away from the crowd, and she just grabs me and she says, "You need to know this is real. This is all real." And she basically spun and like rushed away. So yes, you are correct. This is the second time that this kind of break happened, but this was a couple weeks. I thought what happened to me the night of Ascension with that, I thought that was almost like an in-joke. I did not take it seriously. I thought that was like, oh, that's a really cute capper to the whole evening.
Cute?
Cute. I thought it was cute.
Oh, man. You just made things so much worse.
So now I have this actress who called me and basically said that they have tons of information on me.
Wait, is she an actress, though? Or is Sabrina playing an actress whose real name is Addison?
I think that's probably it.
Man.
I think it has to be it. It's the only thing that makes sense. So, and I'm not the only person who received phone calls right during that period of time, because if you're Andrew received a phone call from Jenna, who he hadn't heard from in a long time.
Yeah, she was MIA for months.
Yeah, and then also somebody else posted on the forum that they had also received this mysterious phone call from someone claiming that they were trying to get away from tension. On a previous podcast, we had mentioned that there was an email about the missing investigator and various other things. So they are still messing with us. And it's like I've already chosen the date. I'm looking at going back in about a week or so to Ascension to figure out if I can learn more. I'm looking forward to more adventure with them. I'm so looking forward to going back again.
Oh yeah, me too. I just hope they extend. If they don't, I'm gonna try to fit it in somehow. But that's why I haven't bought a ticket yet. With all the Halloween stuff going on.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's tough, man. But we've had a few friends go this past weekend for a second time, and they had nothing but rave reviews about it. Like our friend Jake said, it was 100% different for him. Morgan said there was a certain scene where it was just so moving and emotional and incredible for everybody involved, including the actors. And it's just like, you know how I am with spoilers. I so bad just want to be like, what happened? But, I can't. I don't want to know in case, that would ruin something when I go again. But...
Yeah, that jerk sent me the same message. Like, oh, there was this awesome thing, and I'm not going to tell you about it.
We're getting a taste of our own medicine.
Exactly.
Hey guys, we did Victim and this happened and we're so incredible, but we can't tell you anything about it.
So no, Morgan, I'm so happy that he got that experience. I was so happy when I received that text. And he sent it to me at some ridiculous hour in the morning, Mike.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he like I have not been sleeping because I've been thinking about this all night. So definitely it sounds like a multiple trip through Ascension is well worth the ticket price. Like Mike said, we've had several friends tell us that you must go back. And of course we already were planning, just trying to figure out our schedules.
And the funny thing is too, is I have a list of things that I plan on doing and saying and bringing. And I can't wait.
Oh, that's so funny because we've talked a little bit about this, you and I. To me, because of my first trip through, there's basically just two characters. Mm-hmm. They're just and one of them I don't know their name. I just call him Angry Guy.
Simon in the White Room?
No. No.
Okay.
The guy that I met right after I gave the cat to Addison.
The guy. Okay.
I just call him Angry Guy because he looked.
I think Simon is Angry Guy. I think that guy needs a new name.
No. It's like, to me, look, that guy looked at me, and he did it twice. He did it at the event before Ascension, and he did it at the very end of Ascension. I told you later that I encountered that guy again. He looked at me like. That guy looked at me like a rabid dog, and I was a beef-flavored chew toy.
I'm not going to make the obvious joke here, but go on.
No, it's like literally that's what I felt like. It was like he just I really wanted to deck him, but I knew that he could completely take me in an instant. So just like I was so worked up and emotional, and the other guy is the character that we know as I don't know. I hate to call them characters. I don't know what to call them anymore.
Just call him by his name.
The Andrew
Ellis.
No, it's Andrew.
It's
isn't
Ellis.
It? No, because he was hired to be Ellis.
Or was Ellis hired to be Andrew?
No, you're wrong.
Yeah, I remember you said I was wrong before about something else, and
that's true. Last time I told Mike was wrong, he was completely right. No, it's just like he whispered this thing, and then he turned around, and like an hour later into the experience, he terrified the crap out of me. So I like that. So those are the two things for me if I go back. So I'm just that's my curiosity.
Yeah.
So and no, I lied. It's like there's that first room, but yeah, there's tons more, but I don't have the list in the agenda that you do.
Oh yeah. Like I'm told, and I'm not trying to break anything. I just want to see what I can do and if I can trigger anything, because they say that there's secrets, and
yeah,
like I was given something the first time, so I'm gonna bring that back and see what happens, and I'm gonna do and say other things that I've thought about from the whole indoctrination to see if that works on anything.
I think if I return, the main thing for me would be I would just. And I've done this with other immersive experiences. I would try to interact with someone differently.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's like I would go to a different part of the room if I'm in the same room. I would go to, where I turned left, I would turn right. That kind of thing. So, and we've done that before in experiences that we've gone to of like, oh, if you go back, just try to do something different. That's my main approach, because whatever they do, I'm going to love probably.
Right.
So, I'm so looking forward to going back. So, and hopefully that's going to happen in about a week and a half.
Nice. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But that's just, wow. Once again, we do a wrap-up on tension on this podcast.
And for more information on the Tension Experience, you can check them out on the web at thetensionexperience.com, on Facebook, The Tension Experience, Instagram, _tension_experience, and on Twitter, _tension_exp.
We've also done a few other things, and one of the first things that we did during the haunt season was we went down to Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, which we've mentioned before in the podcast. Dark Harbor, I think, Mike, you described it once as having a fair sort of vibe to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
like a carnival.
Carnival is the word that I would go with, because partially because of the makeup and the themes. They're roaming characters. I've said this before. I love the roaming characters at Queen Mary's Dark Harbor. The makeup, the costuming, they're so good.
Yeah, and it's just an overall fun time. And we went last year, and that we thought the same thing. And this year, they have 6 mazes again. They have 1 new one, and they also have 3 upgraded parts. Which is the sideshow, which they had last year. And inside the sideshow, there's magic acts and dancing and magicians wandering around asking you to listen to their box.
Which was very weird. Fire eaters, fire dancers. Numerous other things going on.
And then there's also a paintball section where you can shoot targets and zombies and make things and sirens go off, and that was fun. And then there's a 4D experience. On the Queen Mary, there's a 4D theater. And during Dark Harbor, they have a mini horror movie, which was really, really fun.
Yeah, it is, actually.
And it actually scared quite a few people.
Yeah.
Like, you can hear the screams. It was like, oh, this is so cool.
There are a couple of really good jump scares in this thing. It's short. I don't remember how long it was, but it couldn't have been more than 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah. And if you don't know what 4D is, basically it's 3D. You're watching a 3D movie, but there's also things in the environment. So you may feel the seat move. You may feel a water mist. You may feel...
There may be fog in the room. They may change the lighting in the theater.
Yeah, exactly. So there's other things, basically stuff that can touch you. Not like characters or anything, but stuff like water and bubbles and fog, stuff like that.
Yeah, if you go to Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, definitely try to catch that if at all possible. How did you feel about the zombie paintball thing, Mike?
It was fun, even though my paintball's canister fell off in the middle of it.
So maybe you shouldn't have been so rough with it.
I didn't touch it.
No. But the one thing with mine is my gun was, because it's sort of like a carnival target shooting range thing. And my gun was mounted in a way that I couldn't tilt up to aim at the higher targets. So that was kind of weird. So I could only I could only hit everything from like chest level down. So, but no, it was fun.
And like we mentioned, there was 6 mazes total, and there was one new one this year, which is called Intrepid, and that took the place of Voodoo Village from last year. Although the Voodoo name is still around, they just turned it into, it was like a bar, right?
Yeah,
Or
sort
a
of like a
tasting
bar
room?
lounge area, and I believe they were doing tequila tastings the night that we were there, which I'm sure are probably sponsors of the Dark Harbor experience. Yeah, it was just a kind of a themed bar, and that's one of the things I like about Dark Harbor is usually when I go to something like this, and Mike, I think you're the same way of. We're always on the move. We're not the kind of people who like sit and lounge during all of this.
Right.
But if you're into that, which no problem with that, they do have this sort of bar area with various tequilas to taste. And there's also, Dark Harbor does this unique cabana thing where sort of right in the middle of Dark Harbor, there are several cabana areas where if you want to, it's sort of an upgrade charge where you have this reserved spot where you can sort of regroup, decompress a couple of times during the course of the evening. And also, another thing that lends to the carnival vibe of Dark Harbor is they have so many cool, weird food things going on.
Yeah.
So toxic French fries, whatever those are.
And on top of that, they have like the giant swings, and they
Yes.
have a stage in the middle where there's performers and there's a DJ. And
Yeah, it's very carnival-like, and so you have these cabana things in sort of the middle of that you can regroup, and it's near the sort of the heart of the Dark Harbor layout. So that's kind of cool if you want that. Dark Harbor, that's something which a lot of the larger venues don't offer anything like that. So that's actually a cool aspect of them.
Yeah, so the new maze, this is the description from the website. The new maze is called Intrepid, and do you dare go back to where it all began? Meet the mastermind, the creator, and now protector of the Queen Mary. The Iron Master has returned to reclaim the precious vessel he built, fiercely guarding it from the antics of the freaks and ghouls. Follow his maddening journey if you dare step aboard. And this was the first one we did that night.
What did you think of this?
I liked it. You know, it was like really cool. There were some good scares in it. The visuals were good. At one point, you know, we got split up, and it was like, whoa, you can take different paths, and because you went upstairs and I went straight, and
Right.
but it turns out that really wasn't like a different path.
I have
was
a
it?
feeling. I have a feeling it was. It will probably improve a little bit with time. There was only one character working up there, and I don't know if you noticed it, but that was not a choice that we made.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, it was not a choice.
Oh.
Like one of the characters literally prevented me from following you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought
he-
you guys just chose to go up there.
No. He stopped me and said, no. It's like, you don't get to go there. You get to follow that path.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, so he was deliberately picking and choosing who went where. And but the cool thing about that is if you chose the upper path, the higher one, what happened is you kind of went around the area where people were climbing and crawling and doing stuff downstairs, so you could look down and you could see the creatures interacting with people.
Oh, cool.
So that was kind of cool, actually. Not many scares up there, but it was definitely a unique option. And then we came downstairs and joined you and did a little tunnel crawling, which was kind of cool.
Tunnel crawling is always a good thing.
But yeah, and I agree with you. It's like cool look, some good scares. Yeah, I didn't. I don't know. It was not my favorite maze of the Queen Mary Dark Harbor for sure, but definitely for the first year out, definitely unique from a different vibe from their other mazes.
Yeah, I think like once they get this one under the belt, the next year when they add things and improve it, it's gonna be one of the better ones, I think.
And after that, we went to what is, I think, my favorite maze.
Mine too. I think it was everybody that we hung out with that night.
Yeah. We kept running into friends and grouping up with people and going through some of the mazes. And the guys from We Are Indie Horror joined us for the circus maze, the Big Top of Terror. And it is a circus funhouse vibe in a haunted maze, and with lots of cool characters and a couple of real surprises, multiple paths where you can get disoriented, and like devious little characters who would encourage you to go through doorways that led nowhere, and that whole funhouse vibe happened to us 3 or 4 times during the maze. That's one of the reasons it's one of my favorites. And Mike, you'd the description on the website for Intrepid, you'd mentioned the description of the circus maze. They do the classic Barker vibe of step right up, ladies and gentlemen, and experience the world's most horrifying circus. Face your greatest fears as you wander through a terrifying tent
Russell,
of terror.
No.
What?
You can do better than that.
Oh, please.
With how much you love the sideshow and circus, you can do step right up, ladies and gentlemen, way better.
Oh, gosh.
Put some feeling into it.
Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Experience the world's most horrifying circus. Face your greatest fears as you wander through a terrifying tent of terror. Disorienting illusions, maniacal magic acts, and a cadre of... Cadre. And a cadre of sideshow freaks are certain to shock, stun, and startle even the bravest of souls.
I would pay money to go through that now. I would take my money. I want to go through right now.
So, and also,
you need to be a ringmaster.
Actually, as a kid,
Oh boy.
like for about 5 minutes, that was one of the things I fantasized about being. Along with these standard astronaut and firemen and all of that.
Of course.
So
they go hand in hand.
Kinda, maybe. So
they all wear uniforms.
True. So, and then I saw Todd Browning's Freaks, and then I wasn't so sure anymore. So I probably watched that way too young. This is definitely my favorite maze of Dark Harbor. Just absolutely. And there's so many, and it's I was about to launch into, and they have this and they have this. I'm not going to do that, but I will say they have a tunnel sequence in the circus maze at Dark Harbor, which is probably the best use of that tunnel that I've seen, and we've encountered it twice so far this haunt season. And it's a disorienting tunnel that when you step in, you lose perspective, and that's all I'll say about it. But that is by far the best one I've ever walked through. Wow. It was so freaking cool. I loved it. And that was the one maze that I think at the end of the night we're like, well, we have time to go back and do something. Like that was the one thing that everyone said, we're going back to the circus.
Yep, exactly.
So, and after that, what was the maze we did after that?
We did Dead Rise. And Dead Rise is a World War II escort ship that helped guide the Grey Ghosts through enemy-infested waters. After a fatal crash during one of their dangerous voyages, Dead Rise sank to the bottom and has been resting in her watery grave in the depths of the sea ever since. The wreckage of Dead Rise has once again been called into service by the Star of Dark Harbor, the captain, to escort him and his armada of ghosts and monsters into a battle against the living to reclaim Dark Harbor. So this was another one that was there last year, and I think they did a few changes to this year.
I think there's more water imagery, if that makes sense.
I feel the same way. Like there was more like netting, I feel like.
Yes.
And
there was a sequence where they made you feel like you were underwater.
That was cool.
Yeah, that little section was cool, and you encountered a character in that as you were like maneuvering your way through the section that felt as if it had been decorated as if you were at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, and then there was a lot more water in this one too.
Yes, there was. Actual real live water.
Real live water.
Real live water as opposed to dead water.
But this maze too, and this was one of the ones that I really loved last year because of the ending. The ending of that maze, it got you real bad this year.
Yes, that ending did get me. And it's the classic misdirection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see the scare coming in any way.
Well, you can't really see much when you're leaving
Yes.
this one. And there's a specific reason why. And it's one of those techniques that is being utilized that I love so much, because before you know it, it's like, oh my God, there's someone in front of me. And
right.
you can't tell.
Yeah, they blend in so well with what the environment is that you literally can't see if there's a person standing 2 feet from you. It's a really effective scare. It's great.
And those were the 3 mazes that were outside the ship. And now there are 3 mazes on the ship. And if you listen to one of the most recent podcasts we did, I told you about how we went to the Queen Mary for a ghost hunt for my birthday weekend. So being able to go back and go on these mazes with real ghosts is just so cool to me.
And there's something about Dark Harbor, and it's something that is worth mentioning, is if you purchase a ticket and go to Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, you do get these mazes that are literally inside the ship. So that is production value that you cannot purchase.
Right.
I mean, that is beyond I mean, you're in the bowels of this real ship, and you're climbing the stairs, and you're going through the really low doorways, and there's padding everywhere for the people so that people don't hit their head on pipes and things like that. It is the most unique vibe I think that any haunt provides in this area, just simply because they've got such a unique atmosphere to start with. And one thing that, it's funny because you did a ship maze last year in Northern California, which I wasn't able to attend. But I think I key into something. They pump sound in, etc. But when you're waiting in line and things like that, you realize that the ship sounds different. Mm-hmm. And so when they're utilizing sound inside, there's more of an echo vibe to it. It sounds unreal, which actually adds to the vibe of the haunt, I think.
Yeah, and once you realize, like, wait a minute, I'm not on land.
Right.
Like, I could die if the ship sinks right now. No, it won't, like, more than, like, 99.9% sure it won't, but thinking like that and being in that state of mind where you aren't really in control, where it's like you are on the water.
Yeah.
That makes it it elevates so much more of your senses.
It's such a unique atmosphere. Like, it's so cool. So, and the first one we did on that, I believe, was called Lullaby, correct?
Yeah.
The description for the Lullaby maze on the ship off the website says, "Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of nightmares. The new Lullaby maze takes the visitor on a spine-tingling trip through the story of little scary Mary. Gone, but certainly not forgotten, Mary is looking for playmates to join her on the other side of hell. Will you succumb to the youngsters' pranks and tricks, or will you escape with your soul intact?" So if you have a thing about creepy children, this maze is right up your alley.
This one was great, though. Like, just seeing, like, the props and the settings of, like, a creepy little kid.
Yeah, it's so much fun. For that, it's kids' toys gone wrong. It's children's rooms decorated in a horrific manner. The character of Scary Mary, the creepy little girl, who appears in various forms throughout the maze, like, so much fun.
And she pops up everywhere.
Yes.
Like, and it's like, wait a minute, you were just there. How did you get here? And here's something I was thinking about, though. I think the more immersive events and interactive events we go to, we get ruined. Because, we talked about the tension experience, and we talked about creep, and how we can interact with the characters and have a conversation with them, and they can take us to do things if we have a conversation. I'm always in that mindset now when I go to things. So when Scary Mary was like, "Do you want to play with me?" I was like, "Yes, okay, let's go." And they stand there looking at you like, am I going to have to call security? Like, it's just really, it's weird, and it's a hard button to turn off.
Oh, interesting. I didn't register it. I'm not quite there, because I think I can't turn it off and turn it on.
Or maybe I just don't want to.
Oh, I definitely don't want to. And yeah, and you did have that, and I know the moment you're talking about, because you do walk into a room and she wants to play a game, and she wants to, like, "Do you want to play with me?" And yeah, it's like you want to say yes, and you want her to lead you down that dark hallway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Definitely. Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, and it's not anything that's at Queen Mary's fault or anything. It's
no.
just me being like, "Hey, wait! I said yes. Where are you going? Wait, come back."
Well, I also think because I think the standard haunt goer probably isn't quite ready to pull that trigger.
That's very true.
I'm like, "Oh, a stranger wants to lead me down some dark corridor." And it's like, you and I are like, "Sure."
We don't even do that in haunts. We do that in real life.
Yeah, I think that is something a lot of people would not do as willingly as you and I would.
See, but that would be the cool thing. Like, if they had an option where someone did say yes and you got a scene.
Oh, that would be very
like
cool.
That would be a cool extra thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, if we ever do a haunt, a mainstream haunt, that's what we have to do.
Okay.
For the people that are willing to
play.
Exactly.
And it is play. That's what it is. So, also on the ship, there was a maze called Soulmate. Now, I think when I got out of that, we didn't talk about it because we were with a group mic, but I walked out of that maze thinking, this is Mike's kind of maze.
Because of all the gore?
Yes.
Well, the last two are both like that.
So what did you think of Soulmate?
I loved it. Like, because I'm a gore hound, and it's like, I know a lot of people like talk bad about gore mazes and blood and guts. It's like, oh, it's a cheap thing, but like, that's so great. Like, I love that stuff. Seeing someone's skin hanging up and seeing bloody dead bodies hanging around, like, that's awesome. Like that, because that, to me, that's what got me into horror, by seeing movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, it brings me back to that type of not mentality, but when I was a younger kid, seeing those, like, oh my God, this is incredible. And seeing it in person, it's like that. It's so cool.
Yeah, and this maze had a lot of that. A lot of skin. A lot of skin. So
yeah, it was very Silence of the Lambs-y.
Oh yeah. I didn't make that reference at that point, but yes, you're right. Absolutely, it is.
Which is always a good thing. Here's the thing, though. Between this maze and the next maze, the lighting was so dark, and it bummed me out, because we were able to walk through these mazes a couple weeks ago for my birthday when we were doing the ghost hunt, and able to get to certain parts of the ship. We had to walk through the mazes, and the lights were on. And seeing the detail, and seeing like the faces on the corpses and the blood, and there's a scene in the next maze we'll talk about where the walls are just lined with things, and you could see them in such great detail. And when we went through, when it was running, I was really sad, because you couldn't see anything. You just saw the silhouettes of, oh, there's stuff on the wall, but you couldn't really tell what it was.
Oh yeah, in some areas it was very, very dark. I do remember that. There was one wall in particular that you were talking about hanging body parts and stuff. Like, there's one room in particular that goes into that area, and like in that room, I remember there being enough light that some of the detail in that room is wonderful.
Yeah. Oh well. We got to see it anyway.
So there's enough gore to go around, though, for sure.
Yeah. But the scares in this one were really good too.
Yes, and you were introduced at the beginning. There's a character named Gail, who actually I guess we've been talking about what the website states and the story behind this. According to the website, the Soulmate Maze, there's a character named Gail who has been haunting Dark Harbor, looking for a soulmate since her mysterious disappearance. A meandering maze of mystery, Soulmate is where graceful Gail lures potential suitors with her charm. Beware of her minions, whose job it is to chop up her suitors and reassemble them into the perfect man. Once you've been smitten by graceful Gail, there is no escaping, even after death.
And we met her in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And she called us gentlemen. Well, she called me a gentleman.
Yes. So... Yeah, and she saw me as the servant boy.
Well, you agreed.
Yes, she asked me to carry her luggage.
I'm not going to say anything about that.
So I'm a man with plenty of baggage of my own. So.
Oh, Jesus, Russell.
So, and that's what I'm looking for in a soulmate. Baggage that matches mine.
I quit.
So yeah, she basically set up the maze for us. She told us that little story, and she actually walked with us for a very brief part of the maze. And she had me carrying a hat box for her, and she invited me to drinks later, but failed to tell me where. So unfortunately, that didn't work out. But
see, it's the interactivity.
Yes,
it's the immersiveness.
Yes, exactly. So, which when she did that, that's the first thing I thought of. Like, oh, this is so cool that they're interacting this way. So I thought it was wonderful. But obviously, from that description, you can kind of lead us to, you can guess as to where the gore comes from. So in that particular maze.
Yeah, and then the last maze is also on the ship. It's called B340, and the description is, what would drive a man to madness and murder? That's the answer B340 attempts to answer as we take a schizophrenic sojourn into the psychotic mind of Samuel the Savage. Tight spaces, darkness mixed with flashing lights and pulse-pounding noises would drive anyone to the brink of insanity. Beware the wrath of violence of Samuel the Savage, and be careful not to lose your head or your mind. More gore.
Yes.
Because Samuel is a savage.
Production design-wise, they've done this maze for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And there is a sequence where, and it it states you're going basically into the mind of a madman. And there's a sequence in this maze that the first time I went into it a couple years ago, I just fell in love with this maze.
I know what part you're talking about. The beginning part, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's all I'm going to say, because we don't like to give spoilers, and especially since Dark Harbor is local, and we encourage you to go if you absolutely can. You enter the mind of a madman, and you really do enter his brain. And that's the production design is utterly fascinating through that sequence.
Yeah, and if you touch the walls, it just feels
cool. Yeah, it's a really unique situation and so creepy and so well done. And the rest of it is really, because you're in the mind of a madman, very disjointed. And that sort of production design really does it really creates a good sense of unease overall. Every room you walk into, you just don't know what to expect.
Yeah. And especially, because you're in his mind. So it can go from something innocent and just creepy to a gore fest with body parts stacked to the ceiling.
And you obviously there's references to memories from his childhood that are really disturbing, and characters who you might have encountered in your own childhood, but they've been twisted by his thoughts. It's really, really intriguing stuff. And it's sort of almost like it's got a dream sequence kind of vibe to it. It's not necessarily a linear story that you can easily pick out of it, but the imagery is so disturbing and I was about to say nonsensical, but that's not what I'm thinking of. Random at times, that it's really spooky. It's really creepy.
Yeah. So all in all, Queen Mary, just like last year, was just a ton of fun. And I think what really helps that happen is going with friends.
Yes.
Because you get to hang out and you get to experience all these things together, and you get to enjoy the carnival aspect of it together. Like you mentioned earlier that we are indie horror guys. Brian and Neil, thanks for hanging out with us all night, and we had a blast hanging out with you. And you can check out their site if you're into indie horror movies. We are indiehorror.com. And thanks to Eric, he hung out a little bit as well. And then I think we lost him at some point. A ghost might have gotten him, or something.
After the first maze, he vanished.
Yeah, maybe Gail got him, or Scary Mary, or one of the clowns. Oh, speaking of clowns, that's right. Oh, okay, you mentioned the characters earlier.
Yes.
There's one clown that I was just smitten with. And no, I don't mean that in any weird, stalker way. I just mean, total costume and makeup design. I was just enamored, looking at her. She was a clown, and she had, you know how clowns have stubble?
Yes.
She had sprinkles for stubble. And her hair was cotton candy, and it was cotton candy blue.
Yes.
And she was just she had this kind of attitude towards everyone. I would watch her take pictures with people, and she would just stand there staring. She wasn't a happy clown, because there really shouldn't be happy clowns at Dark Harbor unless they're happily insane. But that makeup just stuck out to me so much. And I saw her a few times during the night, and it was just that is so cool.
Yeah, she was actually
the
first walk around character I saw right when I arrived. She was right at the front gate. So yeah, she was the first walk around character I saw. And the sprinkle thing, we're talking about the kind of sprinkles you would find on a donut. You go
to donut?
So
sprinkles go on ice cream first.
Okay. So, and birthday cake and sprinkles. Sprinkles go with anything.
Sprinkles on birthday cake? Really?
Yes. You never had sprinkles on your birthday cake?
No, it was an ice cream thing, and then eventually donut.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You were obviously deprived as a child.
No, I was not. I had Friendlies growing up.
So I don't know what Friendlies is.
Yeah, you are the deprived one then.
So
no fribbles for you. So shout out to all the East Coast listeners, Boston, New England.
So donut shop?
No, it's an
ice cream shop.
It's a restaurant that has amazing ice cream that they make their own.
Okay.
And they have this peanut butter sauce. I think that's what started my love of peanut butter, is getting the happy ending sundae with the Reese's happy ending sundae with chocolate ice cream, no whipped cream, no cherry, and peanut butter sauce mixed with the chocolate syrup.
Wow, that just sounds great.
Whenever I go home, we always go there. We go there multiple times because
That's
it's
awesome.
it's only in New England. I think it's only in Massachusetts now, actually.
Wow. Okay.
Wilbraham represent.
Good for you.
Yeah. Anyways,
Wow, did we digress?
this is what happens when we talk about sprinkles.
So, for Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, if you would like to know more information and learn more about the mazes that we've talked about here, and definitely we recommend if you're looking for a fun, friendly carnival atmosphere to your haunt, definitely they're the place to go.
And another thing too, they always have ticket deals.
Oh, that's true. Absolutely.
Like there's always a ticket deal. Like there was a ticket deal last weekend where if you buy the ticket for Sunday, you get a season pass to go when like the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. So keep an eye out for the ticket deals. It's definitely one of the affordable places to go. Because, you know, when you look at other major haunts that have a lot of things going on, it can go upwards of $100, especially if you get a fast pass. But for here, prices are very reasonable. Do suggest upgrading to a fast pass. If you don't, you probably won't be able to see every maze. So keep that in mind. And also, we mentioned this previously on the podcast, but parking there is pretty expensive. It's about $20. So what we suggest is parking near the Long Beach Convention Center and either walking or taking an Uber or a Lyft because it's only 1.5 miles from the convention center to the Queen Mary. It's going to save you some money, and you can use that money to upgrade to a fast pass or something.
For more information about Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, you can go to queenmary.com. On Facebook, check them out at Queen Mary's Dark Harbor. On Instagram, they are QM Dark Harbor. And on Twitter, QM Dark Harbor.
One of our favorite escape rooms that we mentioned on the last podcast has revamped one of our favorite escape rooms. So when you combine that, you are making us very, very happy and smiley. Crossroads Escape Games, the Hex Room. It's updated and upgraded for Halloween and beyond.
Okay.
Hey, you did your carnival thing. I needed to do something.
Okay.
Can you tell we have no sleep today?
Yes, we are returning from a weekend of haunting with very, very little sleep when we're doing this. We have mentioned Crossroads before. Crossroads Escape Games down in Anaheim. They are two of our favorite escape rooms. They do the Funhouse and they do the Hex Room. Now, the Hex Room is the one that you've heard us mention before, which is where you come in with 6 people and you are cast in the roles that you would normally find in a horror film. What they've done is they've revamped the rooms a bit. They've changed, let's just say, several portions of the game. And if you've played it before, we highly encourage you go back and play it again. If you've never done the Hex Room, this is a must if you're an escape room fan.
Yeah, they have changed the puzzles. They've changed the ending. So where if you've done this before and you think, oh, I'm so smart, I'm going to go beat the record because I know how to do things. Wrong. You will not. And the new things they've added into each of these rooms are so good and creepy. And I was the nerd this time. And what they added in my room was so awesome to me, and so super creepy and gross. And other people are going to think it's definitely gross. And you're going to hear tons of people screaming in that room. But it was awesome. And I'm so glad I got that room.
Cool. I have absolutely no idea what you got.
Good. So you should try to be the nerd next time.
So, yeah, but I hear that's the hardest one.
You should try to be the nerd next time.
No, I was the virgin this time.
This time, in air quotes.
And they, if you had played this room before, the virgin room of this overall thing led to a couple of different things. They've completely revamped that.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and it was like I was actually disappointed when I saw you walk in there because like, oh darn, I wish I hadn't seen that, because it is there's a surprise about halfway through the escape room that is pretty darn cool.
Well, I'm glad I did, because the next time we go, I want to make sure someone gets that room, like a certain someone. and you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I know someone who would love it. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
They would love it. They would absolutely love it.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's really cool. So yes, they've upgraded the puzzles. They've changed things around in each of these rooms. We absolutely love this room. It is so much fun. And we highly recommend everyone go down and visit Crossroads.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. If you can't fit it in during Halloween, like if budgets are tight and you go to haunts every day like we seem to be doing, this is going on all year round. This is not only a Halloween thing. So what the changes they made, this is going to happen after Halloween as well. So they will be there and they will be waiting for you.
If you'd like more information about the Crossroads Escape Games, and we highly recommend you check them out, on the web, go to crossroadsescapegames.com. On Facebook, look them up at Crossroads Escape Games. On Instagram, cross_roads_escape_games. And on Twitter, it's CR Escape Games. Definitely worth traveling down to the Anaheim area to check these guys out. They're an awesome escape room.
And they're adding a third room soon. We don't have a date yet, but as soon as we know, we'll let you guys know. Now, Russell, you've done something that I did a few months ago, and they made a one-night return.
Yes, they did, actually. Some people who listen to this podcast regularly might recall an event called Ves Corp, which, in a stroke of the universe mocking me, I, in a busy work period, failed to fill out an application form fast enough. And as I was filling out the application form and was about to hit submit, they actually sent invitations to the event out.
I remember that because I texted you, like, did you get the email? And you're like, no, I'm submitting my application right now. I was like, oh, I think you might have missed out, dude.
So yeah, it was just bad timing on my part, and so I did not get an invitation to the first round of this. But yeah, Mike, and I appreciate you. I have to thank you for this. I was driving, and you texted me with like, "Hey, Ves Corp just put tickets up for a one night only thing," and like, so I don't know if you realize this. I actually pulled off the side of the road and got a ticket on my phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's because I was driving downtown, and I like okay. So I pulled over and found a meter and like actually sat there and did the whole ticketing thing on off of my phone.
Nice.
So there are several differences, I think, between when you went to Ves Corp, Mike, and when I went to Ves Corp. Again, this was just a single night. I think they did it to just give more people the chance to go through this. It was in a different location, and I think the lead up was similar, but it was a very mixed bag for me. First of all, I had to drive over an hour to get there, and over an hour to get back. And the show, which I knew was short, the show was, I think, 11 to 14 minutes. So it was really, really short. Okay, but here's the weird thing of my experience, and I don't think you had a similar experience. I got contacted earlier by someone called the Colonel, which I don't know if you encountered that person.
I don't remember, actually.
And I was contacted by someone named Dr. Bowman. And
are you talking about on the phone?
So email and phone.
Okay, I don't remember getting phone calls.
Yeah, the phone call was basically to confirm that I was going to be there, and gave me some basic information. And I asked the standard, like, what about glasses, etc. And the Colonel was the one, I believe, who sent the email. I did the waiver by email because there was a waiver involved in this. So I drove down to the location. It was in an area where parking was absolutely horrible. And here's the thing about Ves Corp. The mythology is there seems to be a pilot program. They refer to you as pilots because you are testing something. And if you follow the mythology through Instagram posts, etc., you know that there is a pilot that has gone missing. Okay, that I'm basically in at that. The fact that they're addressing me as a pilot, as a test pilot, and you know that this pilot has gone missing, testing an experimental device of some kind, which they indicate may be time or space travel?
Yeah. That's what I got from it.
All right, that's what you got from it as well. Okay. So mythology-wise, I'm in. Just hook, line, and sinker, I'm in. But my experience was very, very odd because I walked up and there was this guy in t-shirt and shorts and who like, yeah, you Russell? Yeah, hi, I'm the Colonel.
What?
That was it. It was like, and I went, oh, okay. And I
Was
said,
he wearing a Ves Corp shirt at least?
yes, he was wearing a Ves Corp
Okay.
t-shirt. Yeah, it was a Ves Corp t-shirt. But but I was the one who went, so do I need to sign anything? Do I need to check in? He's like, no, you did the waiver thing online. And I said, okay, well, like, what about my glasses? Like, oh, well, if you want to leave them, I'll watch them. Like, okay, what about my phone? Oh, just set them over there. It was just this weird, casual, like, there was no greeting. There was no, like, it was just, I don't know. It was this very weird, off-putting vibe. Which, how were you greeted for the other one when Ves Corp did it?
Well, how I got greeted was odd because I don't know if you remember, but there was that crazy accident where.
Yes.
So that happened about 5 minutes before I showed up. So I saw them and they're like, and I was like, oh, hey, like I'm here. Like, we're just taking a break. There was an accident. We think someone died. We were literally standing in the same place like 5 minutes before this happened. We're a little shaken up.
Mike is referring to a really bad car accident that happened in downtown.
Yeah. And they were just like, your time is cool. Just come back. And I was like, okay. So that was my first meeting them.
Right.
And when I came back, there was a girl sitting at the desk with, with the shirts, and you had to sign in. And then you had to sit in the chair until you were ready. And then when you were called in, and then you went into the performance space.
Okay. All right. So this was a little bit similar because he did say kind of like, go sit in that chair over there. And there was a Ves Corp sign. And near the chair, there was a little music playing.
Mm-hmm.
But, I have my belongings in my hand. And I look at him and go, like, I guess I'll just put these under the chair. Like, yeah, that's okay. It was just that was kind of the vibe of that first person I met. And then the second person came out in sort of like a robe sort of outfit would be the way I would describe it. And he walked up and said, so, Russell, are you ready to test the whatever? And he labeled the device that, as far as the story goes, that I was supposedly going to be testing. But here's the weird thing, Mike, is he never introduced himself. I swear that, and so my first reaction was like, yeah, sure, because I had no idea who I was talking to. Was this Dr. Bowman, who I'd spoken to on the phone? I have no idea. So it was this weird beginning to this, and then he kind of led me to the performance space, and, the show happened, which the show was interesting. I would say no story, completely heavy on visuals and emotion and feeling. Very heavy music and sound driven.
See, that's where I'm going to disagree with you about the story. And this makes me wonder something. When we went that first time, there was a big lead up and there were clues to find, and there was, to find certain parts of the website, and we saw video and we saw.
Which I did all of that.
Right. But you did that months ago, correct?
Yes.
It makes me wonder if you did it more recently, like the couple days leading up to when you went, if it would make a little bit more sense. Because to me, it made sense as a story based on those videos, because they were so. It was right before we went, so they were fresh in my mind, and it was like, oh my God, that must be what I saw, and that must be this or that. I see where this is going.
Well, I made the connection of there's a certain image that happens about a third of the way into the show, which directly references one of those videos, and it's very striking, and it's somewhat intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
So that I absolutely got. I referenced it, in my head to the video, and like I said, I knew the mythology. I knew about the pilot who had been reported missing, and I was sent an ID by email, which was sort of like a Ves Corp ID, that I was this pilot in training, and I was told that I would have to present that. Nobody asked for it. So that was another weird, like, I actually went out and I had it I made it as the size of an ID card.
And laminated it.
So I didn't have time to have it laminated, but I had it. It was in my wallet. It was ID size, so it would look like I had an actual ID. Like, nobody ever asked to see it. Like, that character never introduced himself. I got into the performance space, and he started talking to me, explaining the device and everything. And I don't know if he was responding to my casualness, but I literally didn't feel like the show had begun. Because it's like there was no vibe around the show. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's me. Like, maybe they're feeding off my energy. I got an email from somebody else who did the show, and he emailed me. He said, "What did you think of that?" And everything that I've just said was in his email. He said it was really disappointing because they made no effort whatsoever to create a vibe. There was just, you walked up to this guy on a street who was just hanging out in t-shirt and shorts, and so I'm not the only one who feels that way about this particular event. So, because I thought it was, all right, maybe I'm misinterpreting this.
Right.
All right. So the event happens, and it's funny because there was a lot of conversation after the first Ves Corp event about how certain things were achieved inside the show. So I was very attentive to lighting and placement of certain things. And so I found it fascinating. I found it a fascinating show. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, but I feel like I encountered something or someone, I use that term loosely, who came from someplace else, whether that's another dimension, another planet, another time, I'm not sure. So the fact that the show created that feeling worked for me, but the fact that there was nothing surrounding it kind of deflated the whole experience for me. Deflated, I think, is a good word. And I left the performance space, and they basically, because it was a tripping hazard, they basically said, "Please watch your step." And I waited for a second, and that's it. And they're like, "Yeah, that's it." So there was no debriefing. I was a test pilot who just tested something, and there was there was absolutely no conversation afterwards. So it was just the whole thing felt off kilter to me. So I'm not, but they have me based on the mythology, Mike. That's the thing that they have me on. So, the other person who emailed me who had gone through that same thing, I think reacted more strongly to everything that I've mentioned, but he didn't mention the mythology. I don't know if he's keyed in the way I am, but this whole thing about the missing pilot has me very intrigued. So I'm willing to say that even though this was a very weird feeling event, and they were not successful in creating tone or vibe or anything, I am really curious about where they go with this. Because, I've said this about a couple of other haunts recently, like, nobody else is going here.
Right.
And I think that's their strength. The device that you test is very interesting. Their use of sound is very interesting, which is a key portion of this. Mm-hmm. Very key. So, I don't know. Do you have any reactions to what I'm saying compared to your experience?
Yeah, I think it sounds like it was almost night and day. Like, the actual show part in the performance space seems like it was probably pretty much the same. But it sounds like the before just kind of set the tone for your overall experience, and I didn't have that at all.
Yeah, it was that was the negative portion of it for me, and the fact that I know that you got the cool laminated ID, and I got sent an email.
Right.
The fact that I knew that they had made that effort, that's part of it.
They
had made the effort before, and I knew they had made the effort before, and I drive an hour plus to show up to someone going like, "You ready?" I think that's it. Thank you for saying that, because I think that helped clarify what I'm reacting to.
Right.
I don't think I vocalized it very well, but yeah, that's kind of it. And I think that's what the person who emailed me reacted even more strongly to, because he also drove over an hour to do this show. So I don't know. Like I said, I am definitely on board, but not based on this experience. I am on board based on what they are creating.
Right.
So definitely, I want to learn more.
See where chapter 2 goes.
Yeah, exactly. So you know me, I'm always wanting to.
Oh yeah.
I always give everyone multiple chances. And like I said, that whole pilot mythology that they've created is fascinating to me, which is why I wanted in the first time. So, and it sounds like that first time was a much better experience than I had. So even if the show was equal.
For more information on Ves Corp, you can check them out on the web at vescorp.tech, on Instagram, Ves_Corp, and on Twitter, Ves_Corp. So we did something that I had never done before.
And I want to hear your take on this.
I finally was able to go to Reign of Terror.
Yes.
And it was incredible. It's 8 different sections all strung together, 95 rooms all in a row. Man, this was just fun. This is a good place to spend a Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's I mentioned there's 8 sections. Those sections are the Haunted House, Miner's Revenge, Blood Manor, Quarantine, the Asylum, Infected, Backwoods, and Funhouse. And in each of those themes, it's basically a mini haunt in those themes, but they're all strung together. So you'll go from one room that may have blood and guts, and the next room will have a clown. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't have anything to do with the story, but it does because you're just starting a new portion of it.
Yeah, Reign of Terror is sort of a long-time staple of the Los Angeles haunt scene, and they're known for their production design. They don't actually overpopulate with character actors. They really strive on making every scare count. Sometimes you enter a room and there's an animatronic in it. Sometimes you enter a room and it's just about the wondrous, beautiful production design. But I was so happy that like you finally had the chance to do this, because this, like, we have a couple of haunts that Mike has done that I've never had the opportunity to, and this was one of the ones that Mike had never done that I had talked about numerous times.
Yeah, and it's not that I didn't want to. It's it's just a trek. It is. It's in Thousand Oaks, so for me, like, that's really far.
Yeah, that's probably over an hour commute for you.
Yeah,
and but I was just like. It's just watching you go through and watching Deb go through, and luckily we were able to go through just the 3 of us for most of the haunt, and it's one of those wondrous things where it's discovery. It's that magical discovery thing. So I have a couple questions for you. Did you have a favorite section?
Honestly, like, I can't think of one. Like, and it's not that I like, it's like, oh, it was all, like, not to sound cheesy, it was all good, but like there wasn't really anything that stuck out because the whole thing overall was great.
Yeah.
If anything, it was either the Haunted House or the Manor, like the creepy old school, like Victorian looking, like walls and the characters inside and the scares in there. Yeah, like that stuff. Like, I'm a sucker for that. Like, I love a stereotypical haunted house.
Yeah.
And those were probably, like, if I had to choose, that was probably it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you know, I have a weakness for asylum themes.
Yeah.
So I really, really loved the asylum, and they go for a gory asylum. Mm-hmm. They go for really disturbing asylum stuff. So I think that's probably my favorite section. And but it's like there's like, you love it when I get scared.
Of course. Because of the trademarked Russell's haunt noises.
Yes.
I really think I should trademark that.
Russell haunt noises.
Dude, oh my God, we could do a CD every year. And it's just you, like, making your haunt noises.
Like weird barking noises.
I mean, if the Chipmunks can make a record.
Oh, ow.
No. That's not an insult to you. I'm just saying, like, people will buy an album of songs sung by people sped up to sound like chipmunks. If people are going to buy that, people will have, you know, the Russell's Haunt Noises CD collection. No. Dude, we could do, like, a Time Life Books type thing. Oh. And then we can have, like, then we can have spin-offs, like Russell sings the hits. Oh, Oh my God, I'm
Well,
gonna be rich.
I
We're gonna be rich.
on one condition:
What?
you do all the remixes.
No, I think we know someone that's way more capable of doing remixes than
That's
me.
true. That's true.
Hi, Morgan.
So I have to share something because like this haunt season has already had two extremely memorable moments for me. One of them was you going through Reign of Terror, and I bet you know the scare I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
You got so scared at one point, and then you did the thing that I have done too, is like you immediately turned around to look at Deb, who was behind you, and look at me, who was behind her, because you wanted to see us get it. And we didn't get it as good as you, but I think that's a new scare.
Okay.
Because unfortunately I wasn't able to make it last year, so it might have been there last year, but I know it was not there the year before, and it's really effective. And without giving a true spoiler, it's where suddenly multiple characters approach you from different directions all at the same time, and you got a good scare out of that. And it was so funny because I was behind you and I saw you get it. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! They got Mike." So, and then you turned around and you had the trademark Mike smile, the giddy, goofy smile you get when you get a scare like that. And it's like that. That was like it was. I was so happy when I saw that look on your face. So, because it's and also something I want to mention about Reign of Terror is it's. I don't want to say family friendly because I don't have kids. Some people would,
That you know of.
So yes, to say something is family friendly, I don't have the fair judgment call on that. But there was lots of I would say 11 and
Oh, there's a lot of younger kids there.
and it is scary. It is definitely scary. They create a very creepy vibe in this thing.
And the cool thing is, you mentioned this earlier, they really don't use a ton of actors. Like
True.
you hear this and it's like, oh, 95 rooms, there's probably at least 100 actors inside. And they don't need them. They rely a lot on sensory type things and automatic type things. And that's all I want to say about it. But they work. They work so well.
Their production design is so good.
Oh, yeah.
So it's something that I would recommend for like a wider variety of ages. Some haunts in the LA area are definitely 18 and over. This is not that type of haunt. This is an immersive haunt, spooky atmosphere that you can go and you can have fun in, and it just. Yeah, it's a really good haunt for if you want a group that does have some younger kids who are just getting into scare stuff. And actually, I recently recommended Reign of Terror to someone in that exact position. Like his daughter is just getting old enough to go to the home haunts and just getting old enough to experience stuff like that, and she's really enjoying it.
Good.
So, I called him after the night that we had at Reign of Terror and said, hey, look, I saw lots of kids there, your daughter's age. Like, definitely, it's a trek, but make it out there.
We talk a lot about the different types of haunts there are. Like we described, Motel 6 Feet Under as like one of those old school, Creep is more immersive and theater based. Like, this is one of those, I think it's on the same level as Motel 6 Feet Under, where it's that good, old school, traditional, fun, scary haunted house. Mm-hmm. It has a great mix of every type of scenario inside. There's zombies, there's killers, there's werewolves. All those traditional things that you think about when it comes to Halloween is inside. And the fact that that I love these so much when there are so many other types of haunts out there, like the immersive things, the extreme haunts, knowing that I still love these things, it's such a good feeling, because at some points, because we got so into extreme haunts, you think, oh, we don't need those old school things. Like, we're over that. We're done.
No, not at all.
No, and well, that's exactly my point. There's this brings back my faith in those haunted house, like this and like Motel 6 Feet Under.
Yes,
it's such a great feeling. So they added new, more square footage this year, correct?
I believe they did, yeah. So, and they were massive.
Yeah.
It takes actually to speak to that, Mike. I think you timed us.
Yeah, it was about 20 minutes.
Okay, yeah, and I think the average time is 20 to 25 minutes actually inside the experience for Reign of Terror, which is awesome.
It's definitely worth the trek. Definitely check it out if you're a fan of like the old school haunted houses. You've heard us talk about Motel 6 Feet Under, which we will get to in a few minutes. But this is just such a fun haunt. Bring your friends, bring your kids if you allow them to go through things like this. Like it's such a good scary night.
And one thing I'd like to mention about location, some people I know have gotten confused about their location. They actually are located in a mall. They're above a Gold's Gym, and they have a permanent space there. And so you have to sort of find the box office near the rear side of the mall, and then they will direct you to the entrance to the haunt. So if you get directions to Reign of Terror and you are surprised that you are showing up at a shopping mall, you are in the right place. You just have to find the box office.
Yeah, and there's signs.
Yes,
pointing to
absolutely
it.
there are. So if you would like to get more information about Reign of Terror, and again, Mike and I both had a blast at this a week ago, please go to their website at rothauntedhouse.com. And on Facebook, it's also ROT Haunted House. On Instagram, ROT Haunted House, and on Twitter, ROT Haunted House. Now, Mike and I have also done some less haunty type things, and this is more theatrical.
I feel like that's like a killer's aunt.
A haunty?
Yeah. Haunty.
So it's a nickname. We went and experienced one of the first nights that Fallen Saints by Force of Nature Productions was put on. It is it's sort of a mini play.
Yeah.
And it's got a seance theme about it. And it's really relatively short. So one thing that Mike and I were talking about after we did the show is how if you are planning an evening of Halloween stuff, if you can schedule it correctly, Fallen Saints has several performances every night that they're up and running, and you could easily fit it in with visiting home haunts or visiting other things in the Burbank area, and Burbank has lots of home haunts. So we would definitely recommend checking this out, and it's short enough that you can do multiple things in the same evening.
Yeah, totally agree. So the Fallen Saints description is this. Victorian London is the intellectual and technological center of the world. It's also home to the most horrific violent crimes and murders in history. At its core lies Fallen Saints, a mortuary specializing in violent deaths. As the deaths grow more unusual, the spirits grow more restless, wreaking havoc across the city. Join medium Evelyn Evie Scrain as she attempts to rid the mortuary of the tortured souls one way or another. And that's exactly what we got to see.
Yeah, that's actually the perfect description. You go in and you have a little encounter with a couple of characters along the way to a room where you meet Evie, who is a medium.
And don't gloss over those characters so fast, because that lead up to where we finally get to the seance part was so fun.
Yeah.
And those characters were so good. And I think they were kind of going for like a mini haunt type vibe into going into the actual space.
Yeah,
for the
I think that's
seance.
fair, yeah.
But that opening scene with that person, that was incredible.
Mike is making hand gestures. Yeah, it's like the very first couple of characters you encounter are very creepy.
I will say the musical character.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Because that person that set the tone for me.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you walk in and you see that and you hear that, and it's like, what is about to happen? This is incredible.
It's a great tone setter, that's for sure. Very well done.
Yeah, so we meet a couple characters along the way. We meet, it seems like a crazy type. I don't know. How would you consider her a witch? I don't know.
No, but even though her vibe was witchy? Manor-ish. Yes, it was witchy. Well, I mean, we were told it was a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
She had certain things laying around that would be doctor-esque.
They do things differently in Victorian London.
Apparently. So, I don't know if you caught it as you were walking out of the room, but she started licking things. Did you?
I did see that.
That was very disturbing. So I'll make this reference. We just so happens we met up with Jennifer from Evil Twin Studios that night, and when she was walking out, Mike, she made a comment to me about this was sort of like a mini Wicked Lit.
Okay.
And I think that's actually a fair comparison for those of you locally who know Wicked Lit. It's sort of a theatrical production that you follow the actors around. It's not necessarily interactive, even though there are moments where you might be interacted with. And this is a very short version of a play that the same thing happens. As you go in, you might interact with a couple of characters, you're introduced to a couple of characters, and then you actually see a performance, a very creepy, effective performance. And that really does set a wonderful tone. And yeah, we actually, I would recommend this to someone who's looking for a night of Halloween stuff. Absolutely.
As you're on your journey, and after you meet the characters we previously mentioned, you go into a room and you witness Evie doing a seance. And she might make contact. Spirits may appear. I don't know. Maybe. Perhaps. Jinx. No returns. Know me a Coke. But yeah, and it's a really good and interesting scene that takes place.
Yeah, very effective.
And when this ended, I'm taking this as a good sign, but I wanted more.
True.
Because it was pretty short. It was about 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know more. I wanted like more things to happen. Like I wanted to hear like the backstory of a character that she talked to or she summons. Like I wanted to know about what happened at the end.
Well, the Fallen Saints mortuary, I think I had the desire because you sort of encounter a couple spirits that are tied to that space. And that's what I wanted, is I wanted more stories. I wanted more about, like, who else is hanging around?
Yeah.
If there were violent deaths in this building, I want to know more about them.
And how did they get there?
Yes, and why were they violent? So things like that. So, and we mean that as a compliment, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
And I mean, this could be possibly an ongoing thing.
Oh yeah, I think this could easily be a series.
Maybe it could be something like TV Live, which is another Force of Nature production. TV Live, I have not seen it yet, but from the description, it sounds something that I would love. I think we would both love it.
It does, and literally just because of our October schedule, we haven't made it yet.
So the description is, TV Live, born from a love of Hitchcock and the Twilight Zone, explores the unexpected, the startling, the astonishing, and the unforeseen. 4 new tales every month from the greatest minds in the theater world for our TV generation. It's not just TV, it's TV Live. So it sounds like they'll do stuff every month, which is cool. So more creepy stuff every month. I'm in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the anthology setup for theater is something that not a lot of people experiment with. I love anthology type movies. When I read this description, I was like, oh, this is definitely something I want to experience. And I guess this is going to be an ongoing show for them.
Good.
So definitely, we recommend Force of Nature Productions. They are a fairly young company. We've mentioned them before because they were the host for Micah's Haunted House Calls, which we mentioned a couple of podcasts ago.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, this is pretty short. It's about 15 to 20 minutes. And that can be a good thing for you with a crazy October schedule, because that means you can schedule multiple things in one night. If you're wondering what else is going on a certain night, you can check out the My Haunt Life calendar, which is at myhauntlife.com/calendar.
Which is a gathering of information about many, many local events and haunts, where they are, and information about hours and dates that they're up and running.
For more information on Fallen Saints, TV Live, and Force of Nature Productions, you can find them on the web at fonproductions.com, on Facebook, FONProds, on Instagram, FONProds, and also on Twitter, FONProds. Russell.
Yes.
Finally, we got to see our friends at the motel.
Yes.
We got to check in to Motel 6 Feet Under.
It was wonderful.
I'm so giddy right now.
Yes.
I can't wait to go back.
I think that night was the giddiest I've ever seen you.
I love Mable so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, before we get all super nerdy into it, let's read a description about Motel 6 Feet Under. Once you're there, our little girl Mabel won't want you to leave. She lives in the motel for all eternity. She has enlisted the help of the dead and undead motel staff to keep you in her tourist trap. Just when you think you have found your way, she will add another trick to turn you back. With too many animatronics and details to see in one pass-through, Mabel will keep you on your toes and out of your mind. Come to the motel, check in, then get lost. And did we get lost?
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome.
We're not spoiling anything, but seriously, they're serious when they say you will get lost.
Yeah, like a lot of times people say, "Oh, it's a maze. It's a haunted house maze." It's a haunted house maze.
Oh yeah,
like literally, and so good.
Yeah, again, we're in this weird position where we love this thing so much, and again, like we talked about a little bit with Reign of Terror. You know, they joked with us when we ran into one of the conventions that they consider themselves chainsaw free. Mm-hmm. This is about the fun haunted house stuff, and it is maze-like in layout, which means you are constantly turning corners and discovering new stuff and looking for hidden things, and you go in with a group and you will find yourself encountering other groups. You'll find yourself and it's just this wonderful, fun, just old school vibe haunted house. These guys are great. What they've created is really cool. I just want to keep going back to the word fun.
Yeah, and this is down the street from Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Disneyland needs to get out of the way because this really is the happiest place on earth for me. Like, seriously, like, I'll say it again. Motel 6 Feet Under is the happiest place on earth. There's only room for one, so they need to check into that room. Disneyland needs to check out of that room, and because my face hurt from smiling so much going through that maze.
All right, I said earlier that this haunt season has already had 2 wonderful moments for me. The other one was in Motel 6 Feet Under. They're not kidding. You will meet a character named Mable, who is, I guess, their oldest guest, even though she's a young girl.
Oh, I see what you did there.
So, there is a point in the maze where you sort of have to go and explore your own path. Is that saying too much? I hope not.
No, I don't think so.
So, and I turned a corner and I walked up behind Mike just as he got scared by this itty bitty, sweet little girl. And I saw you jump. Like I don't think I've ever seen you jump before.
There was a reason for that.
She's good.
Yeah.
She's really good.
And I won't say why, but there was definitely a reason, and that would get anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
and I'm not trying to downplay it because it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It was so well done. But
yeah, and I laughed so loud.
But she's so incredible. Like this is the kind of haunt where you wish you could have it not be a haunt just so you could give everyone a hug inside.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to hug Mabel so much and just be like, "You're so adorable. Thank you so much."
Yeah, thank you for keeping me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was we also have to give credit. We met up with a friend. Max was down there the same time we were, and so we went through with Max, and Max got an awesome scare too. And there's another character which I don't want to describe, but that character I think took a liking to Max because he realized that Max was weirded out by him. And yeah, I saw Max got a really good scare at one point too.
I know what part you're talking about, and it would be funny if they had video cameras in there, and they had a video camera of him and Max, and then me and Mabel, and they played the Benny Hill music.
Yeah, that would be appropriate. So yeah, and I got scared throughout.
Oh
yeah, that's what I do. But yeah, it's an awesome maze, lots of fun, lots of surprises. Again, another very affordable maze. It's worth the trek to check these guys out. They're sort of on their own in location, just right outside of Disneyland, but definitely worth making the effort to get down and support these guys.
But if you want to go and check them out, there's other stuff in the area, like Sinister Point is in the
That's
area. 17th Door is a little bit further south, but you can make a night and hit multiple down there. So if you do go down there, which you definitely should, check out the other haunts in the area so you can make a night of it. We interviewed Carolyn of Motel 6 Feet Under earlier on the podcast at Midsummer Scream, and we were able to speak to her again about the opening and some of the different ticket options they have. So here is our interview with Carolyn from Motel 6 Feet Under. All right, we are here with Carolyn at Motel 6 Feet Under, and we just went through, and I don't know if people can hear it in my voice, the huge smile I still have from it, but I have a huge smile on it. Russell's just looking at me weird, nodding his head right now, but you just went through it for the first time.
I did.
And so
it was so fun.
What did you think
it
of
was really
your creation?
Fun. It was really fun. It's funny because I do the business marketing side of everything. This is Carolyn Carpenter, by the way. And so I don't, I've got everyone else is working on the inside of the stuff. So I see things, but I never got to piece it all together. So, and it was really fun doing it with you because you guys are excited too. So it was a blast. I got to see the experience. Really fun. It's really fun.
This was so fun. There are some elements from last year, but there's a ton of new from this year. But the things from last year you made better and bigger.
Yay.
And it's obviously we can't say too much. And speaking about that, you do something very interesting when people go through. You hand out a little sheet of paper that basically says, "Don't spoil this."
I do, because we had, I know that people will love to talk about it and stuff, but we just wanted to kind of give people an idea of, these are the things that we'd like to kind of keep quiet, and so we're hoping that makes a difference, and that we can, so everyone gets the same experience of coming through and not knowing what's going to happen.
That's a very nice touch because this is a haunt that absolutely has some good surprises inside.
Yay.
And as Mike mentioned, one of the things that Mike and I have talked about numerous times over the past year is that really cool sequence in Motel 6 Feet Under. And the way that you utilized it this year, you changed it, you actually embellished it really nicely, and that's we can't speak of what it is.
Yay.
But it will surprise you repeatedly.
That's good. We took a chance. It was a little bit different, and kind of, we always try to strive to do more and bite off more than we think we could chew, but so we dove in and just took a chance to make it even more.
No, Mike and I just both thoroughly enjoyed it. And actually, Mike said that we had gone through. Actually, going through with you was our second time through. We liked it so much that we immediately came back and tried it again. Had just as much fun the second time around.
We went through a second time, and we're going to come back for a third and possibly fourth as well, because it's that fun.
And we're going to keep adding stuff throughout the season too. So yeah, we've got more things that we want to add to it. So.
And one of the other things that you have this year that you didn't have last year is you have different ticket pricing and different options when you buy a ticket. And could you go explain that a little bit more?
Well, we decided because we wanted to make sure that it was affordable. So we're doing a basic general admission of $15, which we thought was, it's kind of low in comparison to other haunts, but we just want to keep those prices down. And then we do on the weeknights, on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Sundays, you could do 2 for $20. So to make it really reasonable, and we're constantly posting, codes and things to try and get that price down as well. So we do have an exclusive behind the scenes thing that we hope that you guys do with us at some point, and that's a higher ticket price because it takes an hour, and you have a signified staff member that goes with you and everything. So but for the general admission, we just wanted to make it affordable. So we have the backstage tour, which is half an hour, and that's $150 for 2 people, or $75 each. And so you get a half-hour tour with the tour guide, and they walk through the haunt with you behind the scenes, because as you know, there's lots of funny things going on, so you can kind of see how it works. And again, you sign a confidentiality thing, and so we wanted to share that experience with you. And we have a few tricks and surprises back there as well. And then, or you can do an extra 15 minutes, and that's $200 or $100 for each person, and where we give you a costume and a mask that you get to take home, and you get to be in a scene and jump out at someone. So we have a little spot designated for 2 people where one can do the scare and then one can stand and watch them without anyone seeing them. So that should be really fun. We're excited about that. So you guys got to do that.
We will definitely be back. One thing that you pointed to with the ticket pricing, something that Mike and I have discussed on the podcast already in the season, is it's an expensive haunt season for us because we're doing so much. I want to mention and point to something very specifically about Motel 6 Feet Under is you are scary. There are jump scares. There is a lot of very creepy mood and tone within your haunt, but you've also said, you told us at Scare LA that you're chainsaw free. And you do have a vibe about you that is a little bit more family friendly than some of the haunts in the area. And your ticket pricing is certainly affordable for multiple members of a family. And I just want to point to that. And it's a benefit to your haunt that some haunts do not have. And no judgment against any haunts about how intense they want to be. And you definitely have your scares. You definitely have a great tone. You have a couple of really great surprises this year. But the ticket pricing makes it affordable. And also, you reach out to the community as well. So you are making this very family friendly.
It was sort of our intent, and more so, I mean, I'm a big wimp, so, you know, I cry easily. So I want people laughing. We want people to laugh, and it kind of goes back to our whole, you know, family of the way we've always done stuff. And I think the intense haunts are awesome too. You know, you don't go to one kind of movie, you go to lots of kinds of movies. So it's just that. We want to have something for everybody, and we want to be able, you know, you can bring, it is chainsaw free. It's still dark. It's just not disturbing or gory. And we try not to use like pop culture characters. We're just trying to stick to that old-fashioned pop out, boo scare is what we call it.
Well, we kept encountering one particular character named Mable, who I think Mike and I both are very fond of, and she seemed to take a liking to Mike.
Yeah, we thought he was gone forever for a while there. It was like, uh-oh.
I love her so much. And her laugh.
Her laugh.
Oh my God.
Greatest laugh ever.
Going back to what Russell was saying and what you were saying also, I was watching people come out. Every single person that I saw come out had a huge smile on their face.
Yay.
So that says a lot as well.
And we'll poll everyone like we did last year. We polled everyone that goes through because we get people's emails that buy online, and we poll everybody and say, what'd you like? What do you think we should do? And then we create based on those polls. I mean, we really take those seriously. We want to, you know, people come up with ideas or orders of stuff or things they liked, and we get rid of the things that people didn't care about and just try to keep it, giving back.
All right, so thank you again.
Thank
it's your
you.
opening night tonight, so we know you have lots of stuff to do. Could you just tell people where they can find more information and where you're located?
We are at the Business Expo Center, and that's actually a huge event venue, so you can book a Halloween party there and then include the haunt as part of your party if you want to do that. There's still time in the season to do that. They have some dates open, and it's at 1960 South Anaheim Way in Anaheim, right across the freeway from Disneyland. You can see us if you're heading north on the 5 freeway. You can see us off the freeway right near Catella. So we're 1960 South Anaheim Way, and we run Wednesday through Sundays for the rest of the season until November 5th. Plenty of opportunities Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday from 7 to 10, Friday and Saturday from 7 to 11, and we will be open on Halloween from 7 to 10. And we are going to close on November 2nd just for that week, but we'll be open the following weekend. And we also have a Haunter weekend that weekend too. So, the website, www.motel6feetunder.org. So it's the number 6, motel6feetunder.org. Everything's there.
Cool. All right.
Facebook.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was so fun.
Thank you again, Carolyn, for taking the time to speak with us. We went on your opening night, and to be able to get your time, that was incredible. So thank you so much. Also, thank you for going through with us.
Yes,
we
that
had
was awesome.
So much fun. It was her first time going through the finished haunt with the lights out and with all the characters in place. So that was really special for us to be able to experience that with you. So thank you for taking the time to do that as well. So for more information on the amazing Motel 6 Feet Under, check them out on the web at motel6feetunder.org, and it's the number 6. It's not spelled out. On Facebook, Motel 6 Feet Under. On Instagram, Motel 6FU. And also on Twitter, Motel 6FU.
How old are you?
It doesn't matter. So those are the things that we've done so far. We wanted to give a couple mentions of some things that are coming up. In the last podcast, we had an interview with the creators of Trap House, and that has opened and is going strong. I had a few friends go through, and they said it was such a really good experience, and they had an incredible time. So I'm really excited to go back. What Trap House is, it's an art show / escape room. The art show is free. You do have to buy a ticket for the escape room, but if you want to go check out the art, you can do that as well. There were some things when we went through that weren't quite ready yet, and those have been added, and we're really excited to go back and see. For more information on that, you can go to traphouse.la, and that's taking place in downtown Los Angeles at the Think Tank Gallery. Another thing we wanted to mention is a theater piece called Screamers. And here's the description of Screamers. Bloody Mary, La Llorona, Bigfoot, killer clowns, Slender Man. Legends abound in our modern society and continue to be a favorite storytelling device for people of all ages. The stories adapt and evolve over time, and in a world where anything can be transmitted in an instant via the internet, these stories have only gotten stronger and continue to reach new audiences in many different cultures. But the line between truth and legend can sometimes blur, and figuring out the distinction between what is real and what is just a well-crafted story can be difficult. How do you know where the legend ends and truth begins? That sounds familiar. But this is happening October 21st through November 6th, and it's Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. in Los Angeles. I believe it's off Santa Monica. It's in one of the theaters that Fringe Festival happens at, I think. And it's called Screamers, and you can find out more information on that at screamers.brownpapertickets.com. And the last thing we wanted to mention is a one-night-only event called the Heritage Scare. Here's a description of the Heritage Scare. From Survivor Challenge consultants and award-winning game designers Wise Guys Events, the Heritage Scare is a competitive haunted house, a haunt that you play as a game. Each of the 6 houses in the Living History Museum at Heritage Square contains a diabolical strategy game of betrayal you play with a partner. 10 people enter the house, but only one pair emerges triumphant. Play all 6 games in any order as many times as you want. Victorian costumes encouraged, prizes for winners, live musicians, and a cash bar. This sounds cool.
It sounds very cool.
And actually, I wanted to give a shout out to Noah at No Proscenium, his podcast. He just did an interview with the Wise Guys, I guess you would call them, from Wise Guys Events. But they give a lot more information on this, make some really bad puns, and it sounds really cool. For more information on that, go to artful.ly/store/events/10172. We'll also put a link in our show notes for that. And then finally, we have some shout outs to give. First one is to Chelsea. She wrote us an email saying how she recently moved to LA and she found our podcast because of Tension, and she was able to catch up on all of Indoctrination and did Ascension, and she loved it. And that's so exciting. And she's also going to a bunch of other haunts based on things that we have mentioned and other things that she's finding. So thank you so much for the email, and we're glad that we can help out to someone new in LA. The next one's for Sean. And Russell, Sean actually met you at Seance at Sinister Point.
Yeah, he approached me afterwards. Actually, I think that might have been the first time anyone ever approached me about the podcast.
Oh, cool.
I think he was the first one, and I don't know if he... Because we've had several people recently go, wait, I know your voice.
Yeah.
Which is kind of creepy, but really kind of cool, too. Yeah, Sean approached me at Sinister Point Seance. To say hi. That's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, he wrote us, and he said he read our review, our spoiler-free review of Ascension, and based on that review, he went and tried it, and he loved it.
I'm so glad.
And he was wondering where because he and I exchanged a few messages, and he was wondering where he could talk about it, and there really isn't a place to talk about it because of spoilers.
Right.
So I just recommended go to the forums, and try to do that, or maybe private message people on the forums. Or if Tension's listening, maybe they can create a Ascension alumni type private password protected forum or something where you can talk about spoilers. I don't know. But yeah, he wants to talk and be more involved, and so we should help him out. So Sean, hit people up on the forums. That's probably our best bet. Next up, Jonathan from Philly. He flew out here to do Ascension, and another person, he loved it, which is awesome. He wrote to us, and he's coming back to do some of the LA haunts that we are so highly loving, like Creep and Delusion and things like that. So Jonathan, thank you. Awesome. You're amazing. Hopefully we can meet up when you're here.
And someone actually who we did meet recently in person at Trap House LA. We met Brian, who is a writer for TheVerge.com.
Yeah, and if you've seen some of the articles on The Verge about haunts and immersive experiences, Brian is behind him. He's doing a series of articles called The Future of Fear, where he's delving into some of the different haunts and experiences in LA. He's already done one on the Tension Experience. He did one on Blackout 21 last week, I believe. And it's just really good stuff. It's cool reading it from someone that's newer into this stuff and seeing reading about it from someone with fresh eyes. And he also mentioned us on The Verge's podcast, What's Tech, when he was talking about the future of fear and the tension experience. So thank you very, very, very much for the shout out. That means a lot.
Another person who found us, Mike, because of the tension experience, Amber sent an email to me. She's already bought a ticket to Ascension, and she's been using our podcast to catch up on the storyline. She's someone who apparently she has her own podcast with one of her best friends called One Night Stand. And based upon our recommendation, I guess that she is bought a ticket for her best friend who gets scared very easily, and they're going to creep together, apparently.
That's awesome.
So I wrote her back and said, I think your best friend's going to love it.
Yeah.
So, but apparently she's, which is great when you have a friend who's a scaredy cat.
I wish I had one of those.
Oh.
Just kidding.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
But it really did sound like her friend was not quite as into the immersive haunt thing the way Amber is. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing from Amber how her friend did during Creep. And she's also doing, she's going to do some of the bigger haunts that she mentioned. And she's also planning a trip to Vegas. So I wrote her back and I recommended the Freakling Brothers. I recommended Hotel Fear and Asylum.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to steer her toward those Vegas haunts that we love so much as well.
Well, I mean, there's only 3 haunts really, so she's bound to hit one of them.
Well, there's other stuff in Vegas, but we have our loves.
Wait, there's other stuff in Vegas?
Yes, there is. Believe it or not.
Besides haunts,
I hear it's a very busy city, Mike.
Huh. Interesting. We'll have to look into that more.
And Mike, we got an email from Dan, and he brought up a question that sparked a really interesting conversation between you and me, and you said we should bring this up on the podcast, and I completely agree.
Definitely.
Dan asked this question of, he is someone who's intrigued by all of the horror stories, haunts, things that we've talked about on the podcast.
He loves horror. He loves horror movies. He loves the idea of them.
But
he's super jumpy.
So he basically asked us the question of if we had any advice on how to deal with that or how to get over that.
Yeah. And I responded to him and I was like, I'm really surprised no one has brought that up to us before.
I agree with you completely.
Because it is something. Like I hear of people talking about that. And
well, the way I usually get it, because I work with so many people who ask me for recommendations for horror films, I sometimes get the clarification of, would you recommend a horror film that is really scary but not gory? Or I get like some kind of a clarifier like that. But what he asked is really, really interesting, and I think we can offer him some suggestions. But I think this is a conversation that other people would be interested as well.
Oh yeah,
because some people are not going to be interested in extreme haunts, and some people are not going to be interested in aggressive stuff. Because you and I have been to if you go to Knott's or even Universal Halloween Horror Nights or something like that, there are people who find those too intense. Mm-hmm. Partially because of maybe the oversized, looming characters, because they do have like really big characters and in-your-face characters, but not touching. And even if that is too aggressive, where do you go?
Right, and that's one of the things that I actually recommended to him is go to Universal, go to Knott's, go to one of these bigger theme parks, because there are so many people, they herd you through like cattle, and if you are easily jumpy, you get to see where the scare is for people in front of you because there's really no breaks. You're not going to be going through alone. Chances are you're going to be conga lining through. You can see where the scare is. Once you see and you know what the scare is, you can prepare for it. And, hopefully like once you prepare, you go through it and it doesn't affect you. It's like, okay, I did good. I can move on to something else where I'm walking in a group where they separate you in a group and I don't know where the scare is, and take it up a level each time that you get used to it.
Yeah, but also if he's going to something like Universal, there's going to be a time when he's the person who gets the scare, but he knows he's in that environment and he knows he's with a group of people. So I think for some people that group social fun aspect of haunts, absolutely, that's great. I think that would be a good thing for him to explore, or anyone to explore. Another thing that I thought of was if you wanted to get a taste of mood, something like Fallen Saints, which we talked about on this podcast, and along that lines, Wicked Lit.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to make it more haunt-based, Creep this year.
Absolutely, which is very theatrical, not extremely in your face. The scares there come from environment. So I would highly recommend Creep to someone who's looking for something very, very dark in tone, but not in your face aggressive.
Right.
But still extremely effective. And you get a little immersive taste with Creep as well.
Yeah, the interactivity.
Yeah. So, Creep offers a lot on many, many levels.
That's another thing I recommended too, is going to the more immersive than haunt type things like Delusion. If you can get a ticket, you might have to sell a kidney on the black market these days, but or hopefully they'll open up more dates. But Delusion, and we already mentioned Creep alone might even be something good for him, because they're more theatrical as well at this point.
Yeah, and they get a little new agey sometimes. They're exploring so many different themes. You and I have talked even on this podcast of sometimes it's unfair to call Alone a haunt because they're so different than anyone else out there.
Yeah.
But it is an immersive environment, and they sometimes do touch you, and sometimes a little aggressively.
Yeah.
So that would be another one.
And if you want to break out of the horror realm and just get a taste of immersion, just in general, the next time the Speakeasy Society has something.
That's true. So because Mike, I've told you the story that I went to Speakeasy Society several shows ago with a friend of mine who is a huge theater fan. We go to theater all the time together. I was stunned to learn in the middle of that show that she hates immersive theater.
Really?
Oh, she was so uncomfortable.
Huh.
She really, really had an unpleasant time because she couldn't focus. She actually got she got a scene where an actor had asked her to provide a dialogue for her to speak. And she came to me after the show and she said, "You need to tell me what happened because I was so flummoxed. I don't remember anything I said. I don't remember the scene. I don't know what the scene was about." And it really bothered her to be interacted with that way. So Speakeasy Society is something where you could certainly learn if you're interested in immersive theater. So I'm glad you brought that up. Things that we've talked about in this podcast, like Reign of Terror, which we gave a description of earlier, Motel 6 Feet Under. And how would you feel about Haunted Hayride?
Oh, Haunted Hayride is great. Yeah, that would be a good one too.
And also,
like, even Queen Mary, any like fair type carnival / festival type.
Right, which LA Haunted Hayride and Queen Mary's Dark Harbor both have those vibes.
Because that way, if you do end up going and you find out that you really don't like it, you can still hang out and enjoy the environment.
Yeah, LA Haunted Hayride has so much going on. It really is like a fair.
And they have pie eating contests this year.
Ooh. So yeah, and actually, let's open this up. If anybody has recommendations to send to us about other things which they would consider would be good introductory haunts or experiences for the Halloween season or for fall season or any season, for people that are jumpy but are yearning to get more involved. I find this fascinating because we've gotten to a point where we'll jump into almost anything.
Right.
So this is a really interesting question when it came up, and we hope Dan has a great season and has fun.
Yeah. And please, Dan, if you go to any of these and you absolutely hate them, they were probably all Russell's ideas. But if you love them, let me know because they were probably my ideas.
Absolutely.
I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, if you do go, let us know and let us know how you reacted because this is as interesting to us as it is to you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fascinating question.
So thank you, everyone that has written us, tweeted us, emailed us, Facebooked us, seen us in person and said hello. Thank you. It means a ton, and you will never know how much it means. So we're trying to tell you, even though you won't know. But it does. It means a lot. So if you would like to reach out to us directly, you can contact us at mike@myhauntlife.com or russell@myhauntlife.com with 2 S's and 2 L's. You can find us on Twitter at myhauntlife. You can find us on the web at myhauntlife.com and check out our calendar of events for all the haunts in the area. It's updated whenever I find something new, and that's at myhauntlife.com/calendar. That about wraps it up for this podcast. Thank you again for listening. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
See ya.
They refer to the patrons as pirates. What? They do what? No, they do not refer to you as pirates. I don't know where that came
That would
from.
be cool, though.
I want a pirate-themed haunt.
We're here to hijack your haunt. Give us all ye waivers.
Oh, wow.